As I just said, I'm from Weltec in Wellington. As you probably noticed, I'm not from around here. I'm from Wellington. Okay, when I started as a chef tutor, as we just said, some 3 years ago, it seemed like a very simple, straightforward job. But as I said, it seems simple when you first come into the job. You stand in front of a class, you demonstrate a few cookery techniques, a few dishes that they can do. They go away and replicate them. That's some of our teachers with Ruth Pretty, who's from Wellington. Simple and straightforward, they like that bit. Then it's followed by an hour's theory lesson, where they sit in front of me talking while I go in front of a PowerPoint. They do not like that bit. It gets very boring. It's the new iPad phone. There, very good. So, since I completed the NCLE programme and did a lot more work with embedding literacy and numeracy in our learners and some strategies for them, it makes you realise that there's nothing straight, simple and forward at all, not even cooking. If you look at our programme, it's very, very spiky in its profile. We would hope for it to go along at 3-4 the whole way, because that's how our programme is set at. But there's the enormous spikes there. Vocabulary, we teach them all these technical words. We teach them French words, which a lot of them haven't got English as a first language. And then we start throwing in French vocab to them. We teach them how to add a percentage onto a food cost to get an accurate finished cost. It's percentages. We teach them to add and subtract and multiply and divide recipes in their heads. I'll come back to that later. But you can see how the profile is not constant, and it makes it very difficult for some of the students. Some of the scientific terminology we throw into them, we have to teach them food hygiene, food safety. It involves using words like Staphylococcus aureus, Bacillus cereus, and Yersinia intracolitica. Things like that can seem pretty insurmountable for a lot of our students. Also, most of the students that enroll in the course assume it's going to be a mostly or entirely practical course. They don't see that they're going to be 100-question exams for their finishing. And no matter how many times we emphasise the problems and the difficulties they'll face, all they can see is themselves as the next Gordon Ramsay tearing a strip off some trainee. That's Gordon visiting Weltec and one of our students. The other Scottish chef, as we call him. Also, the students themselves, on a hot day, they come into the kitchen at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a hot, steamy environment. They work all day until about lunchtime. They have a quick lunch, and then it's straight off into the theory room where we talk to them for an hour. It's not conducive to learning. In fact, it can lead a lot of your target audience being carted out on top of the desk. We do have people actually physically falling dead asleep in the middle of a theory lesson. Also, the students themselves, this year alone, my group, when they went through the TEC literacy numeracy assessment tool, I found I had 2 students at level 6, one of whom is a doctor, retraining because she's always had a passion for cookery, and she thought, what the hell, I'll go and become a doctor. I'm sure she will be a fine chef. Another of the group is straight out of school, level 2. If you ask him to write his name in a form, he prints his first name only. I'm sure he'll make a fine chef. He just has very different demands of me as a tutor and as Weltec as an institution. I think there's often a tendency amongst vocational tutors like myself who have got a lot of experience in industry, but not that much experience in teaching, although we're working on that. Obviously, we're trying to working on our teaching practices. We try to find one solution for each problem. There's a problem, find a solution, and go with it. If it fails to get the expected results, we decide there's nothing can be done, and we just move on. As with all things with dealing people, there's seldom one single solution that will work as a panacea. It's usually a number of different approaches used simultaneously, and you still don't get the perfect result, but it can be beneficial to the majority of the students. So we started with a course manual. We hand this out at the beginning of the course, and they work their way through it. It gives details of every lesson and assessment they'll sit. It covers obvious things like the lessons, how long it's going to be, what they'll be cooking there, chicken soy Celestine soup, what the tutor's going to demo. These technical words we put down at the bottom, the pure culinary terms, things like a lot you won't know them, skimming, tempering, garnishing. They will fill in the theory class as they come up. They can fill in the solution to it. That works fine. For a pure literacy numeracy exercise, we put in that middle bit. reflection and product report, yield, quantity, comment, thinking they would fill in a little report about what they had done that day. Ticks all the boxes for literacy. Did not work very well at all. At the end of a busy time, they've done 4 hours in the kitchen cooking, all they want to do is get cleared up and get out. They don't want to go and find a pen and write a report about it. So we sort of abandoned that one. We introduced an exercise where they write a weekly report in a theory class. And it started off a lot, given that a considerable number of students putting their feelings down on paper is not something they would do regularly. Because we're asking not just about what dishes they'd made, we're also asking them to on the teaching and the facilities and the programme itself. It's not something that they're used to doing. But after a while, some became more comfortable with the exercise, and they're now quite voicing their opinions on paper. And even some of the quieter, more reticent ones are enjoying the chance to just give their opinions on what goes on around them.